It's always difficult to pull people away from really good conversation, but I appreciate your time today and the opportunity to share some really great content with you, courtesy of our speakers. For those of you who haven't met, my name is Stephen Armstrong. I'm the co-founder of Maple Business Council, and together with Robert Kelly, co-founder of Maple, we're just delighted to have you here at a wonderful home of Canadian investment in Southern California, the California Market Center. For those of you not familiar with the California Market Center, this is an investment by Canada's Brookfield Properties, who have spent about $200 million to redevelop the historic LA Fashion Mart. The fashion sector is one of the historic sectors and strengths of Los Angeles, and the wholesale trade meets here to do business. And they have redeveloped this space to be really a hub for not just the fashion community, but also the creative communities in Los Angeles, and a really important area of downtown. And we're going to have an opportunity to have a private tour for about 30 minutes at the end of our program today. And I hope you can stay for that, because it really is quite striking what they've created here in terms of event space and leasing opportunities. I'm going to start off by giving a brief update on Maple since our last event, which was in Orange County in June, at least a last event in Southern California. And then we have the honor of welcoming Marie-Christine Drolet, CEO of AtmanCo, who has come together with us from Montreal and is one of our newest member organizations, to talk about her work in the psychometric HR talent software space, where her company is leading and pioneering some really important work. And it's a great example of a Quebec software company growing not only in Canada, but across the United States and in international markets. And after Marie-Christine, we're going to hear from Jean-Pascal Saucier, Director of Foreign Direct Investment with Investissement Quebec. And JP gave a wonderful overview last spring at our event in LA about what's new and notable in the province. And we're going to hear more about that this year, touching on some key sectors and strengths of Quebec for Southern California companies to be aware of. And then we'll have our optional tour to wrap things up. I'll ask our speakers to kind of stay tethered to the podium if we can, just so that our online guests can follow along with us. So typical for us, we have hybrid events. So in addition to our audience here today in the room, we're really excited to welcome a number of members, partners, and guests from across our Maple network, across Canada and the United States, who are joining us on our online platform and who have been networking our virtual pool table to table for interactive discussions. So we create these environments relative to the location of our in-person events. And so we probably had some good cabana conversations happen just a little while ago. A big thank you to our friends at California Market Center. I've got to say, one of the most impressive organizations I've ever worked with is Brookfield. Absolutely first class in terms of customer service, in terms of the quality of the work they do in their buildings and the quality of their people. And they couldn't have been more gracious to welcome us back to the CMC. And Rob and I have had the pleasure of working with a number of folks at Brookfield over the years, and Brookfield was a member for many years as well. And we're really proud of what they've done here in Los Angeles. And I was talking with someone yesterday who said that this is one of their signature properties internationally. And this has become a real beacon for opportunities for businesses here in Los Angeles. And it's great to know that it's Canadian money behind it, which really speaks to our mission. So if you haven't been to a Maple event before, we're about promoting trade, investment, and innovation opportunities bilaterally between Canada and the U.S. And we began with a focus on Southern California, where Rob and I live. But it's since grown, and I'll speak a little bit to our market growth in a moment. In addition to being cross-border, looking at opportunities, helping SoCal businesses, let's say, discover Canada and Canadian businesses be successful here, we think our cross-sector composition is a part of our secret sauce. We have members now in over 25 business sectors, and it's a great opportunity to get out of our traditional swim lanes and meet people doing leadership, creative, interesting work. And maybe together, through these connections, we can look around the corner together a little bit and discover a new idea or opportunity that can lead to something pretty interesting. And so the fact that we're not just cross-border, but cross-sector is a real testament to the vitality of our community. We're a membership-based organization with individual and enterprise members, all the way from startups to enterprise and government entities. We host networking events across our chapters, but we also connect the dots between our events with our storytelling. And we have platforms that are video-based, article-based, and of course the presentations at our events that are opportunities for our members and partners to share your passion, your mission, the opportunities that await businesses in a key sector or a key market. And we're honored to work with a number of partner organizations. You might see some of those listed on our poster in the other room. Most notably, of course, is the Canadian Consulate and the Canadian Consulate Network across the United States, and the Global Affairs teams in Canada. So we have a number of people from the consulate in LA today, and also the Quebec delegation. So thank you very much for your support and your collaboration. We are now 9 years strong, and this is actually a picture of our very first event, which was held in Irvine at Kenobi Martins, one of our charter members. And we have our board member, Marco Zoretic, with us today. Thank you, Marco, for all your support over the years. Marco's on our board and as a charter member and founder. And Kenobi's office in Orange County really is our home. And it's been a destination for many, many of our events. And if you don't know Kenobi Martins, they're one of the leading intellectual property law firms in North America. And Marco is a partner at the firm and IP litigator. In addition to Rob and myself, we have a team that give of their time each month to help share this mission with people in their communities. In the upper left is Jason C., who is our executive director for Maple, British Columbia, based in Vancouver. Jason works at YVR Airport and is a leader in their cargo marketing, currently in Hong Kong this week, checking out what's going on in that part of the world. Rob Mancy is the recent chairman of the Canada-Colorado Association in Denver, where he was leading that for a number of years. He's also active in the corporate relocation space with a number of franchises for Avenue West, and spending a lot of his time now in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And Rob leads our Denver chapter. Bernadine Pereira just wrapped up her term as our Maple, Ontario chapter for the past 2 years, and she has her own wealth advisory firm with Raymond James in Toronto, and has been a great supporter of Maple even before she became part of our operating team, traveling regularly down to our events in Southern California. And then John Costanzo runs our New York chapter. John is the ex-CEO of Purelator. And when he went into a very active retirement, he reached out and said, I would love to plant the Maple flag in New York City. And John's done a wonderful job for us there as well. I'd like to update you with some new member announcements. So Natalie, welcome. Natalie Dundas is with us today, Senior Counsel with Procopio, based in Newport Beach. Natalie, would you like to say maybe just a quick word about the type of work that you do and the type of clients you support?
Sure. So I'm in the corporate practice and represent private and public companies in mergers and acquisitions and securities work.
Great. Thank you, Natalie. And we've emailed and exchanged contacts over the years, and it's great to actually welcome you as a member earlier this year.
Great to be here.
Yeah. I also would like to, again, welcome AtmanCo, led by Marie-Christine Drolet, their CEO, who will be speaking in a few moments. Peter, welcome. Peter is the director of the Partnerships North America for AtmanCo and based in Ontario. And also representing AtmanCo in our community is Elias Belarbi, who's based in Montreal, I understand. And we look forward to meeting him at the next opportunity. Also want to thank our renewing members in the last couple of months. The Business Development Bank of Canada renewed their membership. Cardinal Point Wealth Management, who focuses on Canada-U.S. investments and families with their wealth in both countries. Of course, Kenobi Martins. Just yesterday, we announced the province of Ontario has renewed their membership. So honored to have, for Rob and myself, our home province, continue to be on in the community. And also RSM Audit, Tax, and Consulting. And Dawn, thank you for all the support you do. Dawn's with RSM, and RSM has been a tremendous partner over the years with us. On the executive level side, Marko Dukovic is VP of Government Affairs with Global Container Terminals based in Vancouver. and actually welcomed our BC chapter to an event and a tour of the Vancouver port last year, and has recently renewed, as has Francois Meroy, who is VP of Turbo Images, or Les Images Turbo, actually based just out of Quebec City, although Francois is in Montreal. And they do fleet graphics for public transit agencies as well as trucking fleets. And so they have been very successful in the United States growing their business, and are excited to see what opportunities there might be in LA for their business as we think about coming up to the Olympics and some of the branding opportunities that sponsors will want on transit and trucks across the city. We keep our eyes open for interesting insights related to the vitality and strength of the Canada-U.S. relationship, and specific to California. We love this report that comes out every year at Select LA Investment Summit in June, run by World Trade Center Los Angeles, our friend Stephen Chung and team. And they look at which countries are investing money in California, and Canada perennially ranks extremely high. And once again, Canada ranked as the 4th largest source of investment dollars coming into the state, to the tune of nearly 75,000 jobs and an estimated wage impact of over $8 billion a year. And what's interesting is that these Canadian-owned enterprises are across many sectors. You see information, wholesale trade, finance, manufacturing, professional and business services. And it's not just in one corner of the state, but if you look at it by county, there's a significant Canadian impact in terms of foreign direct investment throughout the state. And I think in LA County, actually, Canada ranks number 3. Number 1, I think, is Japan, then UK and France. So this is an extremely relevant relationship to be celebrating and to be growing, because there's a lot of Canadian investment. And we're in a building right now that's a wonderful example of Canadian money supporting the growth of Los Angeles and the region. If we look at the U.S. residential real estate sector, there was a report from the National Association of Realtors that just came out that we saw Royal Bank of Canada comment on recently, that Canada has passed China as the country with the most real estate purchases in the U.S. by an international buyer. And Canada now represents 13% of all foreign purchases of residential real estate in the U.S. That's higher than China and Mexico. Although on a dollar basis, the Chinese investment is a little higher at 7.5 billion compared to Canadian investment of 5.9. And interestingly, almost half of these are buying homes for vacation use, and 2/3 of these homes were single family units. And not listed on this chart, though, was a statistic that about 2/3 of these investments were made all in cash. So a lot of Canadian money coming to the US, and it comes to a number of states. Not surprisingly, Florida ranks very highly. And as someone who used to travel on I-75 to Toronto down to Florida with my family every year for vacation, certainly there's a strong presence of Canadian snowbirds in that part of the country, as is the case in Arizona. But California ranks as the 4th highest location for Canadians to make their residential purchase in the US. Because we're dealing with some horrible fires right now, as we do every year, unfortunately, I wanted to call to attention an example of the friendship and the partnership that Canada and LA region share in a unique way. And we actually have someone pretty special in our room today who was the leader for this actually happening. But you may or may not realize that every year Quebec leases a couple of special Super Scooper airplanes that help fight the fires for LA Fire across our region. And it's been happening for over 30 years. And Cynthia, hi. Cynthia is the person that made this happen originally. And could you maybe just share a brief story about how this came to be?
Sure. It's one of those examples of pride, because back about, I hate to say it, over 30 years ago, when I moved to California, I realized that, we had NAFTA, the trade agreement going on. Things weren't happening, but what I did realize is that these aircraft were really needed here because of fire seasons, right? And so I went to Canadair, the manufacturer. Bombardier's subsidiary Canadair is the maker of these planes. It took me about a year to convince them that they should work with me to bring the aircraft here. And at the time, we had I went and I lobbied to get Assemblyman Friedman and Senator Octores to sponsor legislation here that would bring the aircraft. We got passed unanimously. Unfortunately, it was a bad budget year, and California could not afford the aircraft. That's when we put together the partnership and said, okay, Quebec, because Canada is based in Quebec, why don't you, Quebec, give them your aircraft on a lease basis on off-season? And that's how it all started.
Mhm.
So it's really exciting to me to see them back here again for the 31st year.
Wonderful. Thank you. That's an incredible contribution, Cynthia. So, I mean, we all owe you a dedication. Always the businesswoman. I want to share some recent insights as well to call to your attention. So you may or may not know that every month we put out a couple of newsletters, and one of them is our long-form thought leadership platform called Momentum. And we touch on all sorts of sectors and markets across the year. We've been doing this now for about 7 years. Alfredo Hurtado, based in Florida, is head of Air Canada sales and talked about the summer travel season for Air Canada. That was pre-strike threat. Thankfully, that's not an issue. QA Consultants, who Bill Clages is here from their office in Los Angeles, talked about digital accessibility and the importance of businesses to look at their web presence and how that needs to be as inclusive as possible. And also, we had an excellent article about what's going on in Riverside County in our June issue. In July, we looked at commercial real estate trends with RSM, and also an employment lawyer who was part of the Canadian Consul Accelerator that they ran for the LGBTQ community that came down recently, Ted Flett. He and I connected through the consulate, and I asked him if he would like to share some insights on Canadian employment law and how U.S. companies need to consider their presence in Canada going north, and he wrote an excellent piece for us. August, our focus was on economic development. On the left is a lady named Linda DeMario, who Rob and I met originally when she was Senior Vice President at the Greater Irvine Chamber of Commerce. 30-plus year career in economic development, and wrote a wonderful piece kind of commenting on key perspectives on what success looks like in economic development and how she's helped communities across the U.S. And really reflecting on some of her big takeaways from a very important career. And then Cynthia, we're honored to have Cynthia's observations on welcoming global companies to California and some of your successes in that area for our August issue as well. So Cynthia, thank you for taking the time for that. And then in our September issue, we have some perspectives on the vitality of the Canada-Colorado relationship, written from the governor's office. Caitlin Roth is responsible for international trade and economic development. And of course, we have a chapter in Denver ourselves. And then MGO Accounting wrote a really interesting piece on R&D tax credits for manufacturers. So you can see the diversity of content that we share through our platforms. And just to wrap things up in terms of events, we are working on additional events across our network. Nothing definitive to share right today, but our teams in Denver, New York, and Vancouver are working on some programs for October, November, and early December. We'll have another SoCal event in Orange County in December, and we'll have more information to share on these in the coming weeks as well. But we also have something interesting, if I could ask Rob to kind of talk a little bit about, and you may or may not know that Maple grew out of a community called Canadians in Orange County, now branded Canadian Expats. And Rob and I and other Canadians, like including Marco, got involved early on, probably 12, 14 years ago, to celebrate our Canadian heritage in Orange County originally. And it really became an active social community that continues on today with several thousand members. And one of the marquee events of our calendar is celebrating Canadian Thanksgiving. And so, Rob, if you would like to talk about that.
Thanks for sharing that picture. And I think that kind of gets the point across, is that it's all about just getting our group together. We typically bring out about 150 people to a Thanksgiving dinner. This is hosted at a private club where we did it for a number of years. The executive chef is Canadian, and the club shut down during COVID. But he popped back up at the the Waterfront Beach Resort in Huntington Beach and said, hey, we'd love to pick this back up again if you'd like to. And so we did it there last year, had a fabulous turnout, and we'll be hosting it again this year. We normally host it the day before Canadian Thanksgiving, which always falls on a Monday. So it'll be Sunday, the 13th of October. And it's sort of a midday type event. Again, we'll have the same chef, Louis Butler, and we'll have all of our favorite Canadian. The dessert bar is really popular because he always does it up with all of the Canadian expected treats, butter tarts and Nanaimo bars and like all the stuff you would want to see, right, is there. We start off with like poutine appetizers and things like that, right? So it's all just it's just right on point for our Canadian family. But to that point, there's at least 25 or 30% of folks here, of course, because of the relationships and so forth, who are American, and we love to celebrate it together with families of all ages. So for anybody who's interested, and Orange County's not too far of a trip for you, we'd love to have you.
Thanks, Rob.
Right. Thanks, Stephen.
Yeah, it's a great fellowship, grandparents to grandchildren, and it's a great afternoon together. So with that, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Marie-Christine Drolet, who has come all the way from Montreal for our event today, and it's our honor to welcome you and to hear more about your work. And I'd like just to read you a little bit about Marie-Christine. She's the CEO of Montreal-based software company AtmanCo, and she's a true innovator in the talent optimization and retention industry. And after 11 years with this company, publicly traded AtmanCo, she bought the company and transformed its talent solutions, which now uniquely combine psychometric science with a caring artificial intelligence approach. That's a bundle of words I would like to hear more often: caring and artificial intelligence, with all that we're reading in the media these days. She's also been named one of Canada's most powerful women, Top 100 Awards, and was a finalist for the Quebec Technology Association Investissement Quebec CEO of the Year Award in 2023, and is really a leader dedicated to innovation and human capital development. 20 years of experience in talent assessment. She's orchestrated major projects in AI research and development, co-development, and scientific validation with university research. Holds a master's degree in career development from the University of Quebec. Offers really an innovative perspective on the industry with an obsession for the ongoing development of cutting-edge solutions such as the new AtmanCo virtual coach. So please join us in welcoming Marie-Christine back to LA. You're all set.
Thank you.
Okay.
So the camera's
Yep.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. It's a pleasure to meet you all. And thank you also to Quebec government, also federal government, so Gouvernement du Canada, for being here. Today, it's really about a Cinderella story for myself and also for the company. Just 6 years, a little bit more than 6 years ago, I brought my boss to lunch after 11 years being a faithful employee. And I just took out my intention letter and I said, for my birthday, I'm buying myself a business. So 4 months later, I was the proud owner and CEO of AtmanCo. And since then, we've been just investing so much of our energy for innovation, and we went from having like just a very stable growth to hyper growth. And how did we do that? Well, I'm going to talk about it today. So this is it. Just what we do often has a lot to do with the CEOs. Here, this is our CEOs that are there. A crazy life, and also that needs to have some support. That needs to have like self-awareness, not just like, are you a blue, a red, or an orange, but really, what is it that makes you happy? What is it that makes you an added value, and where is it that you need to get away from, because you drive people crazy. And then after these little lines that you have underneath is really the people that supports you. And I'm thinking about, it could be your spouse, it could be also your family member, your kids. It's really about having self-awareness, but also knowing what's the impact of your people, how can they support you, what's their added value, and also where they can you put people, like, what type of role and responsibility you can give them, so there's going to be a success, where they will contribute to the success of your organization. The other layer is really your management team, where do you have the people that will uplift you, or do you have people that just ask for that guidance and you have to do this and that? And so what is the type of talent that will bring you as a CEO to another level? Who are the people that they might be like really they're really motivated, but maybe they don't have the talent that you're looking for your new your new needs that you have as you grow, as you build, as you buy other company or build new project. So that is what we do. And also the last layer, which is not the least, your employees. So the ones that you need to hire properly for the right reason, that you need to integrate in a good way. So you motivate them and you make sure that it's they're all there for the right reason, and they give the best out of because they're just so motivated. And then after, it's who are the ones that will do the sales? So important. So who are they? When I came to Atman almost 20 years ago, my boss told me, well, would you want to do sales? And I said, I've studied in counseling. Doing sales was not, the natural thing that I had in mind. But I said, I love to try things. So the idea is really to know potential, even sometimes when you don't even know you have. And then after, I remember being there and say, I do some sale and I'm being paid for that. So it's really to put the right people, and sometimes when you don't even know you have this talent. So just about Atman, it's about 1,500 clients worldwide, more than 25 countries. We're now in 8 languages, now Chinese and Japanese. And it's really important, 13 years of scientific validation every year. So this is an example of any of our clients that we have, very diverse people. It's really a company that will want to invest into people, that want to believe that having the right people will make a difference at every level. Our sweet spot is a small and mid-sized organization from 50 to 1,000. We have multinational that use us in multiple countries, but our sweet spot is really a small, medium-sized organization. So just talking about our market that is growing. So employee engagement software, talent management market, and also personality assessment solution, all more than between that vary from 11% growth every year to 17%. So there's a place to grow. But also, it's a place where I'm sure you've heard quite a few names in the industry. It's a red market. You really have to be great or outstanding at some point, or you have to have great connections, either one or the other. But you have to find a way to be competitive in this red market, if we can say. And how did we do that? Is really through innovation. That's really how we went. First, before innovation, what you need to have is you need to have a solution that is scientifically validated. So you don't reinvent the way of doing things. We have different types of evaluation, so cognitive ability, personality, preferences, and learning mode. So this is basic, and there's so many in the world. But you have to do your homework before. So when you do present a quality or a talent, and you select people and you make a strategic decision about it, it is important that you do have this scientific basis very strong, because there is an impact for the business and for the people. So, but once this is done, what we have done with Atman is we decided to be the most versatile solution in the world. Why I'm saying that is we started with personality, learning mode, preferences, and cognitive ability, all embedded into one. But also we said, you know what? Well, our client said, we need a simple tool, just like this, for example. So we did a simple tool, but whenever you want, you can switch it to more precision. And then after we went the other way to more complex and more precise for more strategic management position with, for example, 24 personality scales. So versatility for us was a way to go. Also, what we did is we're just going to push the technology. We're going to be like this company, like that is going to be like cutting edge on every aspect. So didn't reinvent the world with the basic evaluation, but what we did with it was we provide job fit and interview guides embedding all the solution. We did fit between two people. We also provide team analysis, so team that are together, and so you can see the tendencies, you can see the strength, you can see what's missing in your organization, and also what's more much more in demand now is the culture. What is it that you need to have in an employee, no matter where they are? That is just you can't go without it. So you go with the culture fit. So this is an example of characteristic of the team that you have. So it can go very simple. And as I said, it can be into 89 characteristic that you have in the system. So just to make specific decision, talent mapping, and make sure that you have the right people on the right seat. Also, what we did is we use AI to continuously support our employees. So what we did is we developed an employee space for development. So it is really a useful way to show people that you really care, to show how we can build competencies, really to go forward with your employee and have a conversation on the first thing. What is it that you can make you shine? What is it that you can do that make you contribute better to the business and to the organization? What's the next step for you? Is it a management position? Is it as a specialist, and so on? To have these conversations, but also to have ways to develop the skills required, but really to use the skills that you're most talented with. So that's the solution that we launched in 2022. And then after we launched our virtual coach for manager. So what we wanted to do is to say, okay, I have all these information, and people were telling us it's great when you do interpretation, but I'd like to be better at it. So what we did is we said we had this ambition to use AI to consider many information: your company culture, your company characteristic, the characteristic of your employee, and you as a manager, and to push information just in time. So when you need it, when you have a specific problem, or if you want to onboard your employee, and then we launched the virtual coach for manager. So for mobilization, for engagement, for conflict management, that's what we launched, and it's patent pending. And the coming soon, so everybody does it, generative AI. So because we have been so innovative with our virtual coach, now we are in a good position to use also our scientifically validated tool to push the right information. And when we talk about caring, it's really our idea is really to make a difference for organization, but also for people. So to have this caring AI that will push the right information, that will control, just to make sure that they won't say things that they shouldn't. So we're in that project at the moment, and we'll be launching quite soon using generative AI and psychometrics, and also all the content that we have developed in the last 20 years with Atman. So also what we have developed, and we said along the way through the employee journey, we want to know if he's satisfied or she's satisfied. So we integrated in our virtual coach some satisfaction survey. And if they are leaving, then what we do is we do have other survey. So along the way, you have information, you have data where you can support your managers and say, okay, I'll give you a few advice here and there because of the information that I do get from the survey after a week, after 6 weeks, after 12 weeks, just to make sure that we're aligned, and we are aligned with what the employee wants. And also, it's a good opportunity because we're using it in so many areas, for example, selection, onboarding, development, and so on, to grab after a while the information and do analysis and do a strategy with that. Strategy for onboarding, what are the characteristics of the ones that are leaving, the ones that are performing, and so on. So it's really to use the data properly, to ask the right questions, to be successful along the way. So just key metrics for productivity, reducing turnover and decrease bad hiring decision. So just to give you an idea. And also our business model, just to let you know how we work. It's we do have annual license, minimum 2 years, or company will buy bundles online. So it's 100% tech. And eight languages. So there's enough people that can be served at the moment. Love it, recurrent business company. We go through direct sale and also through partners. So if there's anything that anybody or any people in your network that is in HR, feel free to come to us. We would appreciate. But what we do is really we offer the solution for really selection, development, and team building, team mobilization. What we have done first, we wanted to be strong in Quebec, be number one in Quebec, which we did for the small, mid-sized organization. Then after expanded in Canada, in Europe, specifically in France, and then spreading to Spain, and many other countries through our network of partners, about 100 partners that we have worldwide, continued in Brazil, and now entering the U.S., through California. So why California? I talked about small, mid-sized businesses. So that's our natural market. So there's 4.2 million small businesses in that state. So also there was a connection in terms of innovation, tech industry, and this openness to trying new things, do things differently. Also cultural similarity, much more progressive than other states or country. So this is appealing to us. It goes with our value, who we are. And also the fact that Canada, specifically Quebec, is a place where there's a big fight for talent with shortage of labor. So which California is also the same type of environment. And as I mentioned, the fact that we have here lots of progressive company that looks for creativity and innovation. So yeah, I'm here with Peter, and if there's any question, just feel free to be in contact with us through LinkedIn, or also I guess we're going to share the information. Thank you so much. Yes.
I have a question. So, how important is it, or was it, during your development of some of the more AI-oriented technologies to be in a province that has a lot of focus on AI? Right. I mean, there's a huge AI contingent in Montreal. And
Yeah.
I'm just curious if that proximity helped you.
Yeah, well, definitely for funding, for research, because it is expensive to be the first ones to do a project or to build new ways of doing things. So this environment was quite natural to do also partnership, to get great advice, on how to do things, to not reproduce, in this tech community, to not reproduce, do error that people, to prevent error that people did before. So the tech industry for us is like, this ecosystem, very open to tech, really makes a difference in Montreal, Quebec. Yeah.
Marie-Christine, how
Thank
did you
you.
get started in the U.S.?
Many years ago, it started many years ago, where we had company and also even cities for police that would do match between two people that would be in the same car. So insurance company and so on, that because we're a SaaS, we have the client in Kuwait, and it's very diverse. But also coming into the U.S. market is a very red ocean places. So we took a while. We want to, build our solution, make it very versatile. So there's a reason for us to say, okay, there's a difference between having just one simple solution, one use solution, and look at us. We have like such a versatile and solid, scientifically solid, validated tool. So now it's like having all these experience now coming to U.S. Very actively to California is our next step. Yeah.
Is there a question?
Yes.
Marie-Christine, welcome back to LA.
Thank you.
Good to see you, and great to hear that you're coming to California. I'd be really interested to hear just some of your thinking on what's influenced you in choosing your location within California.
Yeah, thank you for the question. When we came actually with the government of Canada 2 years ago, we went into two different cities, San Francisco and also LA. And to be honest, San Francisco was the place for tech, and so I had like high expectation when I got there. After COVID, it was not the same. We were there, so come here, like to have a very dynamic city, very creative city. A city that is, has a lot of activity, not just in tech, but also with and small, medium organization. Well, it is just became natural. And to be honest, also meeting people that were ready to open up with Cynthia today, to open up their network and bring us to be in contact with the right people really makes a difference, and down the line made us decide to come here. Yes.
So as you guys expanded in different countries, we're still talking about significant cultural differences,
Yeah.
right? Like as a person from Brazil, I would say a Brazilian introvert might be
Yeah.
Right? So how do you take that into consideration, or even how does your AI learn through the different cultures that you're expanding?
Yeah. First of all, when we talk about culture, we talk about language. So you have to do an evaluation, that you have to do a back translation. That's your first homework. So to make sure that, for example, French to Portuguese, Portuguese to French, and then you compare with two different people, a translator, you compare the two versions. You need to make sure that your questions remain the same. That's the first thing. And then after what you do is you have a sample of people from Brazil, and you use the sample for having this evaluation. So So the fact that you can have very precise, specific sampling, and you're being compared with people from Brazil in Portuguese will make it so appropriate. So. Okay.
Show the video.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
So that
I
was
know
great.
there was one question. Yeah.
I'll change
that-
places with you here.
yeah,
while
okay.
you do that. I'll get this set up for you.
I think there was another question somewhere. No. Okay. Maybe it was,
Did you want to set this video up first, or just?
yeah, maybe I can just say a few things. This is a client that it's a client that we've had for many years, but post-COVID, they were rethinking everything, and we're saying, okay, we won't go for anything of the past. And it's really our innovation that made them stay with us and being really active and became like our biggest fan. So we're very proud to be with them, which is like a really good example of a caring company that, is competing in multinational space.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Hello, my name is Marc-Anthony Machado, and I work as a manager for Transat Contact Center, and I run the integration department. So it's really a way for us to understand the person's individual traits, natural tendencies, natural strengths as well, and adapt their speech, adapt the approach. So the results I'm most excited about is the matches that we can do. So when an employee starts with us, we're able to analyze the employee's individual test result. We do the same thing for our team of supervisors, and then we create a match. As a good manager, you want to adapt to every person, and you want to speak to the person in a way that is going to speak to the person, sort of in the same language, if I could say, what part of our DNA speaks to our employees. So I do see a difference with the managers that are using the coach today. It's a confidence boost also, I think, to have that tool and to know that you're basing your approach on something that is concrete, something that is adapted to the individual's personal needs. Honestly, what I enjoyed the most about Atman is the human approach. We work with humans, we work in management, and I think today more than ever, it's important to offer a positive work environment for each person. And Atman gives us a glimpse into the humanity of each person and helps us adapt. And again, a good manager is somebody who is capable of adapting to a person's individual needs. It's really a tool that I enjoyed for the humanity of it and how we could better work with the people that we work with on a daily basis.
Great. Thank you so much. Great to see you. Just take a moment here to switch gears. All right. And you'll be available afterwards if there are any additional questions. Marie-Christine, wonderful. All right, it's now our pleasure to welcome Jean-Pascal Saucier to the Maple podium, and I'd like to share a little bit of background on JP first. JP is the Director of Foreign Direct Investment for Investissement Quebec here in Los Angeles, responsible for attracting foreign investment from Quebec with over 15 years of experience in his field. And prior to relocating to Los Angeles, he's had assignments with Invest Quebec in Chicago and at Business France in Toronto, as well as Chicago. Strong track record of success, attracting foreign investment, working with companies from a variety of industries, including tech, agriculture, life sciences, transportation, and manufacturing. Prior to his career in the public sector, JP was a marketing manager at a Quebec-based furniture manufacturing company. He's a graduate in public communication from Laval University with an MBA from HEC Montreal Business School, and has also studied at the University of Tech, Sydney, and at EM Lyon Business School. In his spare time, he enjoys reading The Economist, cooking, cycling, skateboarding, and lives in Santa Monica with his wife, Megan, and their newborn son, Benoit. and his cat Waffle. Let's not forget. JP, please come on up. Yeah. Oh, and punk music. What's your favorite band?
I love California bands.
Yeah.
Actually.
Oh, great.
Bad Legend, NoFX, Pennywise.
Excellent.
So,
Well, with that, I'll turn it over to you.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stephen, and it's a pleasure to be here today, and it's an honor to talk after both Stephen and Marie-Christine. Very, very impressive story for AtmanCo, and a great success story for that represents what people can achieve in Quebec. So today I'm here to talk about the work we do in the United States and around the world at Invest Quebec to grow the Quebec economy. First thing, a word about Invest Quebec. We're quite a unique animal in economic development. We are a very large team. We're about 1,000 people. And the reason that we're that large is that we do a lot more things than most economic development outfits. We provide services to Quebec-based companies as well as to foreign companies that are looking into doing business in Quebec or are already doing business. Our services include financing. We can loan money to businesses that are expanding. Tax credit, we manage some tax credit. Those for technology companies, for example, are managed by teams within Invest Quebec. We also help with export development. We have teams around the world, including one here in Los Angeles, another one in San Francisco, with several attachés that support Quebec companies are looking for business contacts and clients abroad, or that want to attend trade shows. So we manage missions in several trade shows across the Western United States from Los Angeles and San Francisco. We also help foreign companies to find suppliers from Quebec. So large companies have come to us, small ones too, looking for certain specific products, and we're able to do matchmaking with our industry, and sometimes very successfully. We also added a few services very recently, like technological support. We absorbed the CRIC Research Center. So we now actually have about 100 engineers in Montreal and Quebec City that can help companies automate processes and also certify their products or process. So these are quite unique characteristic for economic development agency. Additionally to that, we have a VC fund and a fund of fund team where we are a limited partner in most of the VCs across Quebec. Now let's talk about Quebec and our economy. Many of you are Canadians, some Quebecers, so you might know. But yes, Quebec is a very diversified technology. California is in the same position where it's not dominated by just one industry, but it's very diverse. Clean technology, aerospace, technology, mining are some of our most important sector. We're a big food processor. We export about half of the aluminum that is used in the United States, and we serve a lot of sectors, including financial companies and so on. So lots to do for us. Today, I want to talk about three sectors in particular. First, these are some of our economic priorities right now, and there are sectors where things are happening at the moment in Quebec, and which are also driving our efforts abroad and here in California for economic development. So we'll start with aerospace, moving on to energy transition, and finishing with the AI and tech cluster that we grew in recent years. We couldn't not talk about it because we have Marie-Christine right here, which is a living example of that, and also because California is also a hotbed of those technologies. Know that the Montreal area is a huge hub for aerospace. It's quite a unique place, actually, because we have a large number of original equipment manufacturer in just one city, and that is pretty much unique anywhere in the world. So very few cities, can compare to Montreal in terms of the breadth of our aerospace sector. We had an announcement in May that the Quebec government is investing in creating a new innovation zone around the 3 hubs in the Montreal area for the aerospace industry. The first one is Mirabel, which used to be an international airport. Now it's used mostly for charter flights, but also as a test bed for new aircraft technologies. So Airbus, Bombardier, and others are testing the newest aircraft technologies in Mirabel. The other hub is Montreal, and more specifically around the Montreal airport, which makes sense, the St. Lawrence area, where we have a concentration of aerospace businesses, including the world's largest supplier of flight simulators. So very high-tech product that involves virtual reality, electronics, and of course, a deep understanding of aerospace. CAE, which is based in Montreal, is one of our biggest success in this sector. The last pole is less known. It's Longueuil, so on the south side of Montreal. There is an airport in Longueuil. They're expanding, they're rebuilding the terminal, and Porter Airline is planning to offer flights to Canada and the U.S. From Longueuil. They're rebranding also. They rebranded recently at the Montreal Metropolitan Airport. So a growing hub for aviation also. It's also the site of a technical school for aerospace and aviation, which is very important to the sector because training is really key to our success. The other asset that we have in the area is the Canadian Space Agency. And we had recent announcements in the sector where Invest Quebec, is supporting efforts by Telesat, a Canadian company, to build satellites in the Montreal area with MDA and to send them to space to create a new Canadian communication network that's going to serve all Canada. So exciting news. This is a clipping of CBC with Premier Legault and Minister Champagne. That was in May. That was the announcement of the Montreal Innovation Zone. So large investment by a West Coast company, Boeing, who's now based on the East Coast, but have most of their manufacturing here in Washington State. Boeing invested... is going to invest about $240 million to develop activities in Quebec. Here, what we see is an air taxi that is produced by a Bay Area company called Whisk Aero. It's a company that I personally work, with to attract them to Montreal. As part of the Boeing announcement, they're going to double the size of their engineering and design team in the Montreal area. So grow from 50 to over 100 eventually to design these air taxis that you might soon be seen flying in the LA area. So as I was saying, we have a very large aerospace cluster. And really what stands out is the number of prime contractors and OEMs that we have in one single city. Toulouse is very much focused on Airbus, Seattle and Washington. We have Seattle and Boeing. We have both in the same city, but we also have Bombardier, Bell Helicopter, Pratt & Whitney Canada, CAE that I mentioned, and G is also making aircraft engine parts in Quebec. So very diverse aerospace sector with a growing space technology component. Next up is the Energy Transition Valley, so another innovation zone that was announced in recent years by the government of Quebec. That wouldn't come as a surprise to most Canadians, that Quebec is pretty unique for its hydropower resources. We are the largest producer in North America of hydropower, also the largest exporter of hydropower. We have nearly all our energy from renewable sources, and we have even banned oil and gas extraction. So very much in line with the Californian way of moving very quickly towards energy transition. So much that we co-created with California and originally Ontario a cap and trade system which is connected between California and Quebec. Washington announced that they were going to join. I think they're having a referendum. We'll see how it goes, but they might be part of it as well. And maybe one day Ontario will join back. That clean energy, along with our mining resources, gave us an opportunity. Back during the early times of the pandemic, I was lucky to be part of a team that was set up at Invest Quebec to attract battery manufacturing to Quebec province. So we set out with PowerPoints and with video calls because there was the pandemic at the time. And we started to reach out to battery manufacturing companies across the United States and the world, and to tell them the story of Quebec. Tell them that we add strategic minerals such as lithium, graphite, and many others, that we were already working on projects to process them. For example, Nemaska Lithium is building a plant to process lithium in the province of Quebec, which is going to provide a domestic source of lithium, which we all rely on for building batteries. So across the province and across across the whole value chain, basically, of the electric vehicle and energy transition, Quebec has been able to carve a niche. So from refining to cell production, you might have heard of the announcement with Nordvolt also in the spring. So that is still developing, but great investment that is planned for over $7 billion. Ford, with its Korean partner, EcoPro, as well as Ultium Cam, which is part of GM, have all selected Quebec as a place to build battery materials or battery cells. We also have companies specialized in truck and buses, and also lighter electric vehicle with BRP or Taiga, as well as recycling company Lithium and Solumet that are planning or already operating in Quebec. This industry is spread around the province, but there are two main hubs that were designated for the Energy Transition Valley, which is going to be our energy transition cluster, the hub of Shawinigan and of Bécancour. Both are around midway between Montreal and Quebec City on either side of the St. Lawrence. And both are areas where there was a very, very strong industrial presence that had declined very much over the year. Industries like metals manufacturing, like pulp and paper have been pulling back. for years. But now these these regions are experiencing a new industrial boom to the point where we have a hard time finding land for industrial projects or power, as you may have heard. Last up, we're not just an industrial powerhouse. We're also a tech powerhouse within Canada. And let's talk about that. Since 2016, around $3 billion were invested by foreign companies in Quebec, in AI specifically. We also were selected as the headquarters of Scale AI, which is a Canadian supercluster that is looking to apply AI solution to supply chain technologies. And in 2016, what happened is that Google announced that they were going to set up an AI research lab in Montreal, and that really brought us to the attention of the other large company. Now, the person that was the head of that team at Google was a Quebecer. I live in San Francisco. I visit him from time to time. His name is Sami Benjo. He's very well known. He's now at Apple. But his brother, which is a picture here on the right, is the founder of our AI cluster in Montreal. Joshua Benjo, an AI researcher that chose to stay in Montreal and build around him an AI institute called Mila that has now grown tremendously. They have built a whole campus in the north side of Montreal and attracted several companies to the area to conduct cutting-edge AI research. They also work with local companies. And Joshua Benjo has the distinction of being one of the strongest voice in AI ethics, and his goal is really that AI technology is used for good. So AtmanCo is a great example. I think it fits into that narrative. But areas like drug discovery, new materials, new energy technologies, that's what Mila is really pushing. And it is noticed worldwide. Actually, Joshua Benjo was named one of Times Magazine's 100 most influential people in the world in the past couple of weeks. So buy your Time Magazine, 100 most influential people. We have a Canadian that is there. So technology in Montreal and AI in Montreal is very, very attractive. This is a salary benchmark from 2024, so quite recent, between several cities. So as you can see, Canada is a very attractive place to do business for tech companies because the cost of doing business is significantly lower than the U.S. Pair that with some of the most generous research and development incentives, both by the federal government, but also in Quebec. We have our own programs, which are known as probably the most generous in Canada and across North America, where we provide tax credits that can represent 30% or more of the cost of hiring engineers and AI scientists in Montreal, across Quebec. So the cost of a machine learning engineer, for example, in Montreal is not quite half, but it's close to half of the cost of hiring one here in California. In San Francisco, we don't have Los Angeles on this slide, but Los Angeles is just between Seattle and San Francisco in terms of cost in general. So that's driving a lot of business and a lot of interest for Quebec across our clientele. To conclude, I would like to mention that despite having salaries that are not as high as they are in San Francisco or Los Angeles, we do have an exceptional quality of life in Quebec and in Canada in general. And that's really a key also to attracting business to our great province. For example, the cost of living has been going up as it has everywhere, but is still significantly cheaper than most major Canadian cities. So huge difference. Your money goes a little further in Quebec province for housing. Also, very able childcare. We have state-sponsored childcare. So the difference, and I have, as Stephen mentioned, a 9-month-old baby. So I have childcare here in California. I can see how much it costs. It's huge difference. So we like to tell that story that we really stand out as an attractive place for people with young children and families in general. Last up is something you probably know already. Canada is one of the safest places on the planet. And Quebec within Canada is actually one of the safest places that you can choose. Almost one of the safest in the world. Quebec City has been ranked 6th safest city around the world. Sadly, for Los Angeles, for California, the homicide rate in Quebec is just 1/6 of what it is in the United States. So it is a very safe place. It's still affordable, and it's very competitive in terms of cost. And we do offer very generous incentives for companies doing business. So we are ready to help them. Please let us know if you know any U.S. companies that want to move to Quebec, or if you know of Quebec companies that want to do business here in the United States. We have the teams in place to support them. So myself I'm heading the attraction efforts with Pauline that is here. And Mathieu, which has a larger team spread across San Francisco and Los Angeles, is able to support Quebec-based companies that want to find customers in the United States or attend trade shows here. So let us know if you have any opportunities or any question regarding our efforts or Quebec in general. And we'll be glad to talk. Thank you.
Thank you. We're thinking about that. Is it true that Bombardier has a piece of the transportation work at the LAX redevelopment and the train?
I'm not aware, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's the case. Are you talking about the train?
Yeah.
That would be Alstom, because they sold their train business to Alstom. And yeah, but that's a company we've been supporting. So Alstom's a French company, but they now have a major presence in Quebec and is one of our clients, or the companies we're supporting.
Any delegations of Quebec businesses that are planning a trip down to Los Angeles?
Well, to Las Vegas next week, I believe, is Mine Expo. So our mining industry will be in Las Vegas. LA has so much going on. There's always a Quebec company somewhere in LA at any time. But yeah, next up is going to be maybe Commotion LA. We always have a lot of companies that fly in for that. Yeah, that will be probably the next big one I can think of.
GP, how's the lithium mining industry doing, given some of the cutbacks in the electric vehicle industry?
Yes, very good question. So you're obviously watching the news, and there's been a slowdown across the electric vehicle industry because people are buying less than expected. For different reasons. The industry experts say it's driven by the interest rates being higher, so people won't afford, and then by the infrastructure not being ready. We were mentioning with Marie-Christine how charging can sometimes be an issue for people with an electric vehicle. So it has slowed down the development, but all the major projects, most of them are still on the way. Albeit slower than expected, which is not necessarily a bad thing because their calendar was so tight in the beginning that it would have been really hard to meet the deadlines that they had set for themselves.
Where does the lithium mining industry in Quebec stand globally?
Yes, so it's emerging. So in terms of resources, we know that we have significant resources. Right now, Nemaska Lithium, which happens to be a client, can I say that? Not yet? No, okay. Or a prospective clients of Marie-Christine. Yeah, okay. They're building the plant now to process the minerals. So right now we're not shipping out, exporting lithium. There's probably a small amount being produced for test runs and so on. But it's coming up, and we hope more to come. There's been a lot of attention by large mining companies from across the world to,
I was there with an Australian company about a year ago. It's quite extraordinary what's going on up there.
Yes. Maybe you can tell us more about it.
I was just very impressed.
Okay, yeah.
And so the resources, the level of lithium that is available there. The big question is environmentally.
Yeah.
How is it going to impact? That was a really big issue that we discussed when I was up there.
Yeah, definitely one of the challenge of the mining industry anywhere is the environmental factor. If we look at Nemaska Lithium, which is the processor of lithium and not the miner, their goal is to create the greenest process to extract lithium from rocks. This is extremely energy intensive. So they have a technology that allows to do it with much less energy than previous generation technologies.
It still requires a lot, so the carbon footprint is in fact great.
That's true. Of course, if they use green power to power their machines, it's helpful to keep the footprint low. And this is one of the reasons why we think we have an opportunity in Quebec to have the manufacturing of batteries clustered in the province, is that they're able to produce using green energy, and so they can keep the carbon footprint quite low. This was part of our pitch to the battery manufacturing companies. We had studied how much they could expect to produce in terms of GES, and it was much less in Quebec than elsewhere because of the availability of hydropower, which is now in high demand, and that's becoming also an issue. The demand for hydropower is so big that Hydro-Quebec needs to expand the network and the production of clean energy.
Our New York chapter has talked about some of the events about how important that contract with Quebec has been to help with New York State's transition in New York City with the hydro from Quebec.
Yeah, absolutely. The former Delegate General in New York, which is now a Santa Monica resident, Catherine Loubier, she was a big part of signing that agreement with New York, where a huge portion of the electricity that is going to be consumed in New York will be coming from Quebec. It's already happening. The amounts are going to increase. So we're going to export a lot of electricity to New York, which would help the carbon footprint, not the carbon footprint in Quebec, but the global carbon footprint. Yes, this is one of the the uses of our hydropower.
Well, thanks again.
Thank you.
All right, folks, that brings us to the end of our main program. So if you have a few minutes, we will have a tour of this campus, California Market Center by Brookfield in just a couple of minutes. You might want to just kind of just be around this room here, and I'll get our guide. But we have an opportunity to see how Brookfield has redeveloped this campus, and it'll take about 30 minutes or so. And with that, I want to thank everyone for making time today and braving LA traffic to be together and celebrate such an important relationship that we have in Canada and California. Thanks again.